We're talking about Rashford. We've been talking about Manchester United. If you were Southgate, would Rashford be on the plane?
Not unless there's a real improvement on his form. I mean, I suppose as international manager, I think I've heard Gareth say it, it's how he's played for England. Well, football ain't like a light switch. You can't flick it on and flick it off at will. Right now, I don't think Rashford is anywhere near starting for England the way he's playing. There's so many people in front of him.
Yeah. I'm looking at the messages coming in. United fans listening to Graeme, listening to Simon. There's Dan. Jim, you said, why doesn't Ten Hag dig Martial out? Ten Hag has dug players out like Sancho and Ronaldo. He gets stick for it. He can't do right for wrong. It's a cultural stink at this football club of ours, and it starts at the top, Simon. A cultural stink.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that. And look, for arguably the biggest club in world football, and I make this case regularly about what Man United are in legacy, heritage, achievement, financial landscapes. Now, of course, Man City have gone on. If you win the treble, you're going to have these sort of turnovers because you're going deep into tournaments. But if you get Man United back in the groove, they'll eclipse everybody again. But there's very little about Manchester United that you can admire at this moment in time. From the team on the pitch, to this entitled attitude of the fans, to the Glazers' attitude towards the football club, to the chief executive's contribution, to players like Greenwood's behaviour, to Sancho's outbursts, you've got nothing about Man United right now that you would say is, in your mind's eye, reflective of this football club that was held up once upon a time as the poster boys for the Premier League.
But the fans are right to be thinking title. Are they not? This entitled attitude by the fans?
No, because
I wouldn't bring the fans into it.
Well, I did, because I think
they're not losing
part of
1-0 at St James's Park.
No, absolutely. But there's this perception that they have a sense of entitlement about what their club should achieve, what their owners should represent.
But what
their
fan
owners
doesn't? What fan doesn't?
But we're not talking about other clubs, we're talking about Man United. And we're talking about Man United for a different set of standards and a different prism. I don't look at Crystal Palace in the same way that I look at Manchester United, because Manchester United are one of these football clubs that operate at a higher level with a higher level of scrutiny and thus a higher level of responsibility to achieve on every level. Which level of Manchester United do we look at and say, ownership, not great, because the ownership isn't as invested as it could be, albeit it gives them 170 to 200 million pounds a season. Chief executive, done a good job? Not particularly. Look at the coach. What's the team doing at this moment in time? Not particularly good. Look at the playing squad. Look at the recruitment. Look at the financial returns from Man United. Look at every aspect of Man United that was once this shiny, absolute, role model for what the Premier League looks like around the world, and say, not a lot going on there. We've got Sancho, we've got Mason Greenwood, and all the activities that have gone around. That's nothing really great about Man United at this moment in time, is there?
I don't want to single out Rashford, but you can't help but do it. Say you're Ten Hag post-match on Saturday night, Graeme. I'm standing in front of you with a microphone for Sky. What about Marcus Rashford? Where is this player at the moment? How would you answer it?
Again, you come back to the modern ways to defend your players to the hilt in public. Maybe get into his ribs in private or in the dressing room with. I always felt that anything I had to say to a player should be said in front of the group. But I think that attitude has changed because it's so precious today.
Yeah.
I think the correct way 2023 was to defend him. Say, he wasn't at his best today, but then maybe get after him in private.
This is interesting. This is how Ten Hag answered the question.
I know this issue is coming up then, and they are, and Marcus is investing a lot. We support him, and he will return to his form.
Short and sweet. That was it.
Yeah, what can he say? What can he say? Unless there's an underlying problem that we know nothing about, Marcus Rashford is a very different player this year to he was last year. But in saying that, he's the same player as he was 2 years ago, where he didn't turn up. And I come back to that. Great players turn up every single Saturday, Sunday afternoon, and make the difference in the 90 minutes of football. You cannot pick and choose when you play for a big football club.
Is Jimmy Carragher right? Is there more responsibility on local players to see their clubs through tough times? Rashford, Mancunian.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's suggesting that when I was in the dressing room with Kenny Dalglish, that we didn't care as much as the rest of them. Or it's like when I was a manager at Glasgow Rangers, at Terry Butcher and Mark Haitley, didn't care as much as the rest of them. Not a chance. If you're a proper player, you hurt like anyone else hurts. In fact, you hurt more than anyone else.
But did you honestly feel like that? I mean, at Liverpool, their heart and soul, they're Scousers he's talking about. At Manchester United, they're Manchester boys. They feel it. Do they not feel it more?
No. this is where I think the whole thing has changed. That if you live in the city, you've got relatives living. If you're from the city, you've got relatives living in the city, family members, close family members. They have to go to the supermarket, they go to the pub, they go wherever. In my day, and before and post, you got semi-involved with the town. You know, you'd go and have a drink with a journalist. You'd have mates. You would go to places where you're bumping supporters. I'm not sure if they do that anymore. I think a lot of these players live in a bubble today.
I mean, I don't know if the terminology is right from Jamie Carragher about a responsibility, but is there often a thought process that when you come through a club and you...
Absolutely not.
Well, let me finish what I was going to say.
I know what you're going to say.
You don't know
Absolutely
what I'm going to say. When you come through
you
the
say
club,
you feel more responsible if you've been there as a kid.
I didn't say that. No, you've got it. No, I didn't say responsibility because I already discounted that word from the equation. What I was going to say was you have a better feeling for things. You have a better understanding. You have a better appreciation. Players that come through the youth development policy that haven't been signed for hundreds of millions of pounds that land in a football club want to play for that football club, get the dynamic of that football club, understand the culture of that football club. Not any more necessarily than the players that are in the dressing room from other football clubs. But if you've got an affinity with a club for different reasons than just because you've been transferred there, it becomes a different feel. It can't be the same feel. It has to be a different feel.
I can only talk from myself and the players I played with.
But you're talking about the very top of the tree.
That's all I can talk about.
Top of the tree.
That's all I can talk about.
Rashford's top of the tree.
That's all I can talk. I can tell you, I hurt as much as anyone else in that dressing room. Sammy Lee was a proper scouser. Jimmy Case was a proper scouser. They hurt. They didn't hurt any more than me when it wasn't going well. And I would...
But Carragher's point is that Rashford... First of all, I don't think Rashford is anywhere near the level that put him out. I've never thought... I thought it's unfair in a kid. People put him on a pedestal, say he's a world-class footballer. He's not. He's a good footballer. So they judge him by a set of standards that are ultimately unfair. The part that Carragher is applying himself to is, you've come through this club, you get it, you can't bother to lift a leg at the moment. Why can't you be bothered to lift a leg? So he's equating that you're not lifting a leg to... You should have a little bit more affinity to the football club that's given you an opportunity from when you were a young man all the way through to crap seasons 2 years ago when you couldn't be bothered.
I think you're talking about individuals who you wouldn't want to be in the trenches with. And
including the captain.
I didn't play... In my time at Liverpool, I did not play with any of them.
But different culture, Graeme.
I know,
different attitude, different
surely,
outlook.
I don't think
it's a different
culture. If I was a player today... Would I have that taste in my mouth? Would it be any different today to it was 40 years ago?
Because
when you lose a game,
the economics
I wasn't unique. I played with other players who were the exact same as that. I've employed players. I've mentioned two there, Terry Butcher, Mark Haitley. They would have people against the wall if it wasn't going well. But they were Glaswegians and Glasgow Rangers worked all life.
When you get a lot of money.
Well, I think life is fairly straightforward. I think. In any walk of life, we're not talking about football. You give someone too much too soon, that can be a problem for the majority of them.
That's my point.
Yeah. Marcus Rashford, he's got a lot to do.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.